And welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by our good friends, Madisonville Marine. The boat show, folks. The boat show is here. It's coming up Thursday through Sunday at the Knoxville Convention Center. But if you want to run down to Madisonville ahead of time, they still have all of their incentives, their deals, their rebates up and running. $500 to $1,000 incentives on select Hurricane, Sweetwater, and Aqua Patio boats, plus deals on G3 and Skeeter boats. Madisonville Marine, there is no better place to buy a boat. And Thursday through Sunday, there is no better place to buy a Madisonville Marine boat than the Knoxville Convention Center. Get out there and see them at the boat show this week. All right, Tennessee kicks off Butch Jones' second spring practice on Friday. Coach said this week that his team should be quicker, thanks to an influx of new signees, and should be stronger, thanks to an extra year in the weight room. What I want from you guys is a list of 5 things, and I'll throw one in here too, so we each just need to do one. We can make a list of 500. But what are the 5 most important things Tennessee must do during spring practice?
Is finding offensive and defensive lines 1 or 2?
We'll call that 1.
Okay, both lines. They're going to have to be rebuilt. You're going to see a lot of guys that Tennessee fans hadn't seen before, so I think that is job 1, find both of your lines.
Okay, find both of your lines, number 1. I thought there would be another number 1.
My number 1 would be Riley Ferguson and quarterback, and seeing what you have there. How about that, quarterback?
Okay, have some of that gin.
Who are you impersonating?
Are you going to try to find
the ring announcer?
Where's that yellow brick road?
Is Riley Ferguson healthy? Yeah. How's that?
All right, is Riley Ferguson healthy? I think to find a quarterback,
yes,
just
exactly.
in general, period. Quarterback.
Are you impersonating Frank Broyles?
Yes.
All right, Mike Strange, what do you got?
People don't think of this first, but it's really important, is a kicker and punter.
Yeah.
I've got that on my list. Yeah, that's.
I mean, Michael Pilardi was both.
You got to find both.
Yeah.
And always when you're a team with a small margin of victory, you better not be missing many 35-yard field goals.
Well, especially, how many times last year did we say, I think even at the end of the year, we kind of said that Pilardi was basically your MVP of the year. So when you have a kicker punter who's your MVP, and now he's gone, who's going to be doing your kickoffs, your kicks, your punts? That's huge, I think. Jimmy, what do you got?
Running back. You're losing a guy that had over 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. Your returning guy hasn't proven that he can stay healthy or be a big-time running back. And your offensive line's gone, which Bob is pointing out. You need to find a running back. And I think it's going to be Jalen Hurd. That'd be my guess. You've got Paul coming off an ACL out of high school. You got a really good recruit out of North Carolina named Scott. But I think it's going to be a big spring for Jalen Hurd. That's one I'm looking at to see what he can do coming off the labrum surgery.
That's right, another guy that's come off, and he had an injury before that in his junior year, I believe. So you want to see those guys step forward and at least get an idea for what your backs can bring to you. And I had listed a thing off of that. This team may have more numbers this year, but they still don't have a ton of experience. It's a very young team when you bring in 35 guys, obviously. So I think you got to stay healthy. I mean, you can't afford to be losing people in spring practice. And you saw Florida last year lost some guys in spring practice, and it just carried on over into their fall. Tennessee doesn't. They still don't have the margin for error, to use your word or words. They don't have the margin of error to deal with a bunch of injuries. Let me ask you this one. I saw Athlon this week, Athlon.com. They listed the SEC's best rosters for 2014. Tennessee was the 6th best roster in the SEC in 2014. What they had done is simply look at the recruiting rankings for the last 5 years, not factoring in all of the departures at the front end of that thing. Is that – I groaned when I saw it. You kind of groaned right there. Is that the overall response, a groan to Tennessee?
It's unrealistic. That's crazy. They don't have that kind of roster. They're probably closer to maybe 8 to 10, maybe in that range. But you can name 6 right now that are better than what Tennessee has. And so no, that's I don't know how they came to that conclusion. Maybe it was just looking at recruiting rankings.
It was. They just looked at recruiting rankings for 5 seasons.
That's ridiculous. If I added one more thing on this thing with Tennessee, it's mental toughness. Okay. I think that's something else they need to try to find in the spring. Yes, sir.
I was just thinking 8 to 10 may be a stretch. Not that the roster may not be talented, but it's got to prove something first.
You got a lot of young guys.
You got all these young guys. Let them come out and prove that they're talented.
Yeah, difference in talent and experienced talent.
Yeah.
I think that sets an awfully high bar, and the problem is people are going to see that, and it'll get passed around. Everybody's going to expect more out of this team. I just don't see that. I think it's probably going to be as tougher a year as you had last year. But we'll discuss as football season approaches. All right. When we come back, we take a look at the SEC teams on the NCAA tournament bubble, and we'll look at the types of teams that make the NCAA tournament. Some interesting statistics. Come on back on the Sports Source.